There is only one way to deal with the pressure. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your teammates. You have to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your teammates. If you see it, don't second guess yourself. Do it, and do it 100 mile an hour. No fear, no hesitation. My last word, Peter, is that in this arena, in front of this crowd, tonight, the Blues, without fear or hesitation, will do themselves proud. Enjoy your Origin football.
All right, welcome back to episode of the year, the Origin preview.
For game one.
Game one Origin preview.
Yes.
Bit of a series preview as well.
Yes.
It is Origin. It's
getting
tomorrow
closer.
night.
It's nerve-wracking.
It might be tonight, depending on when you're watching
exactly.
this. Oh, tell me you're excited.
I am excited.
Have you ever been this pumped for an Origin?
No, I think this is the most excited I've been.
I'm pretty excited.
Because this is going to be a very interesting series, this one.
Especially with some news that's come out recently.
Yeah.
It's leveled the playing field a little bit. Let's get right into it, Zane. We're going to start the episode, the special Origin episode. We're going to break down the team lists. And in case the Giant Wigs didn't give it away, we're starting with the Blues.
We are.
Blues first. Now let's start with the skip at the back. James Tedesco.
Some people debated whether he should be there or not. You're absolutely stupid if you think he's not. Shouldn't have been, because he's the Australian captain. He's the Blues captain. He's probably still the best fullback in the game, arguably. But he was always going to be there. He was picked before the season started. People want Dylan Edwards there. I can see why Dylan Edwards is in better form, and he wouldn't let New South Wales down if he was there. But there's no chance in the world they get rid of James Tedesco.
He's just too good to let go, and you know what you're going to get from him. He's consistent in that arena. He's been there and done it in that arena.
Edwards will get his opportunity. He will eventually.
Yeah. You reckon?
If he stays in form, because Teddy's he'd be 30-ish now. I don't know how Edwards is. He'd be late 20s.
I don't know if Tedesco's that old, is he?
I think he's 30
He might be.
Yeah.
Let's do it. On the money.
30.
Tedesco's 30 years old.
Yeah, Edwards would be about 28, I think.
I was thinking 26, 28, 20. Oh, no, I've got the wrong Dylan Edwards, but the one that's come up's 27. No, yeah, that's the right one. 27.
Okay, yeah.
So there you go.
So
he might get a chance
he will get his
late
opportunity.
in the career, especially with Suoliti moving on.
But you don't know, actually. There's still Travojevic and...
You got Crichton as well, who'll be playing fullback.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we'll get to in a sec.
So, you never know. He does deserve to be there, but there was no way he was going to get there.
Let's not pretend
if Tedesco wasn't there.
Let's not pretend that he doesn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
If Tedesco's injured, he almost walks into the squad at least.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah, but it's Tedesco, and everyone says, people that have coached Origin and played Origin, they say that it's won in moments. And Tedesco delivers moments so consistently. You look back to 2019 when he scored the match-winning try in Origin. You look at him in club, land 2019 again in the grand final, delivered a big moment. That's what you need.
And even last year in Game 3, he was by far the Blues' best player.
Yeah.
And no one talks about how good he actually was.
He's won, I'm pretty sure, multiple Brad Fittler medals. He's won Player of the Series at least once. You're not dropping James Tedesco.
No chance, unless he's injured at least.
Now the wingers, Zane, for the Blues. Brian To'o and Josh Adokar recalled into the squad.
Yes.
What do you make of the
one? I'm surprised. One, I'm not surprised, but I'm fine with the decision. It wasn't necessarily expecting him to be there.
You expected something
based
else
off how it's been this year.
Yeah.
To'o speaks for himself. I reckon he's the best winger in the game. The other bloke, which Adokar, he's arguably up there as well. But the meters he gets out of his own end is just incredible. And the only weakness I have with To'o is that he can't leap. He cannot leap.
Yeah, he doesn't have height either.
Which he doesn't need to do that. He can just.
Well, who will he be marking?
I think
Cobbo.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think
it's the other. He's on Hammer's side with.
I think he'll be on the left. Do you reckon he'll be right?
Yeah, he'll be with Tulangi.
Do you reckon?
No, he'll be on the left. Yeah, I think he's on Tulangi and Hammer's
Cobbo
side.
will be right, won't he?
Yeah, he'll be on Hammer and Tulangi's side.
No. He'll be on.
Because I remember Mitchell was going to be next to him on the left. And he had
so
Hammer
if
in front of
To'o's
him.
left and then Cobbo is Queensland's right, that means they're marking up on each other.
Right. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, now I was thinking left.
Because I originally thought it was going to be Fox left and To'o right.
So Hammer's going to be inside Cobbo.
I think Hammer is going to be left centre for Queensland.
Okay.
I think it got changed because of Latrell, which we're about to get to. I think they've swapped them, but which will come to Latrell, will come to Queensland. The wingers, it's the 2021 wingers.
Yeah.
And interestingly, in 2021, Fox was on the right and To'o was on the left, which goes against their clubland positions, but I think that's the right
It works,
thing.
yeah. And then the thing with Toto as well is that he's perfectly built for Origin. Like, the way he plays as a winger is what you need from an Origin winger, making yardage.
I think it might have been Joey or someone said like a few weeks ago that wingers in Origin are basically front rowers because of the amount of yards
I've
and
heard
hit
him
ups
say
they
that
get
before.
through.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you need.
Brian To'o's the best for it.
Yeah.
He's easily the best when you want meters out your own end, post-contact meters. That's what Brian To'o is. Now, Josh Addo-Carr, he said that it was a bit of a surprise.
He's more of a speed star, which, you know, he's such a passionate Blue. And if he was, like, you know, he's injury-free for now, at least.
Yeah.
So it was ridiculous that he wasn't there last year. And I think we all know how stupid that decision was to leave him.
And you could argue it came back to bite him as well.
And I'm glad he's there, but I don't think he deserved to be there based off this year. Like, I'm happy that he's there, but I think there were players in a bit more form. Which, cause,
like,
you know, Campbell Graham's, one of them. Stephen Crichton as well. Like, I still would have probably picked them before Addo-Carr.
Yeah. But it's just interesting because
I still have a feeling, though, that if Daniel Tupou wasn't injured, he would have got picked. Because
that's Freddie Fittler.
I honestly reckon Fittler would have still chosen Tupou.
I read something the other day, maybe even today, about, like, I saw it on a Bulldogs Facebook group, an article, just a small article about, like, Fox getting recalled. And apparently he changed phone numbers this year, and Brad Fittler, like, didn't have his new phone number, like, to give him the Origin call up. And so then Brad Fittler had to, like, get his new phone number off Gus to give him the call up. How random is that? That's so random. But yeah, I was listening to the Bloke podcast yesterday, their Origin preview, and they were, you know, Guru.
Yeah.
He was at the New South Wales training when Haas went down, and he was saying that Josh Addo-Carr's energy, as soon as Haas went down, went up because he, like, realised that everyone else's energy had dropped because of Haas getting injured. And so, like, Fox saw, like, I need to pick up the energy. And that's what he's there for, right? Like, he is the energy of New South Wales.
And I think that's exactly why the Bulldogs got him there as well.
Yeah, 100%.
To bring up the energy.
Bit of culture, bit of energy. Speaking of culture and energy, and we're about to move to the centres with Tom Trbojevic. Have you seen the videos of him with Crichton?
He doesn't fit in with them, does he?
He does not.
He's just like, let's get out of here.
Like, they're all blasting music and stuff.
Mitchell, who was it? Mitchell, Fox, Crichton, and Toto. And he's just
He looks like that when you get told to bring your little brother along.
Yeah, no, he's just like, I'm here. I found it hilarious.
Just wants to play footy. They're so funny. If you haven't watched those videos, they're like maybe NRL Roast or Bloke in a Bar. You can find them. It's good stuff. But let's talk about the centres. Now, the big news in camp yesterday, Latrell Mitchell ruled out.
Huge loss. Probably, I reckon, probably the biggest loss for the side. We all know New South Wales' record with him playing. Like, it's massive that he's not there.
If you had to pick, like, 3 players from the original squad to just make super safe and, like, guarantee that they're not going to get injured, Latrell is in that 3, I reckon.
It'd be Latrell, Teddy, and Cleary.
Yeah, I think so. And then Turbo comes close as
Cleary's replaceable. They got Hines there. That's the thing.
That's true.
But, you know...
Maybe even, like, Teddy...
If you're looking at the depth side of things,
Trell,
as
Turbo.
of right now, the depth side would be Trell,
Teddy.
Actually, no, to be honest, Trell and Trbojevic can play fullback. So, but, you know, the most important place...
You don't want Trell getting hurt.
Important place outside to me is Tedesco, Mitchell, Cleary.
If you're Queensland, one of the most scary players from New South Wales is probably Payne Haas and Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like, I was so excited to finally have Latrell Mitchell on my team.
Yeah.
Like, I hate him so much that I wanted him on my team because then you get to love him for 3 games a year because he dominates in Origin, and now he's out. It hurts. How do you feel as a Souths fan?
Look, I've heard it's not too major.
It's
just the fact
weeks.
that if he plays similar to what he did with his hamstring last year, the club hit it. He was injured with that hamstring the whole preseason, and the club were very quiet about it until he, it got worse in that game against the Dragons. He had to go overseas when the club finally came clean about, it wasn't good. Like, we were just, we needed him there. We needed to try.
Yeah.
So I just had my blank there. Well, I forgot what I was going to completely say here. But
were you going to say, like, you're sort of relieved that they've come out straight?
Yeah, they've come out and said it's not major. Like, if it was major, they wouldn't be playing himself.
And I think it's also interesting that he was sort of the one that brought the injury to light.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't try and hide it himself either. He front-footed it and, like...
And what also bugs me about this now is that if Graham didn't pull out, he'd be the starting centre.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, literally.
He'd be shooting himself in the foot that he did this.
Hate to be Campbell Graham right now.
He'd be like, why did I do...
That's one of the first thoughts I had when I saw him. Like, Campbell Graham, if he just stayed 18th man, obviously the way it unfolded, it seems like New South Wales deemed him not fit to be in camp.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't pull out, South didn't pull him out. It was sort of like he wasn't fit to train constantly as 18th man.
Yeah.
And obviously he didn't play on the weekend, which shows there was an injury there. But there is a difference between 18th man and centre. And I think he probably would have played if he'd been picked at centre. Through his injury, do you know what I mean?
I agree. I reckon if he was in the starting squad, he wouldn't have put, I think he's just saw that he was 18th man and he's just like, what's the point in coming here then? I think that's really what's happened. But still, he'd be shooting himself in the foot now that he's done that. That's just...
Now, Trell's replacement, Stephen Crichton.
Do you have problems with him?
I don't have
I rate him at club level. I don't know about him at rep level.
He kind of threw Origin last year.
He did.
He had that pass out of his own
He's
line.
got experience in the arena now.
I think
and he's next to Kruger. Bizza, sorry.
And
which
outside
is a positive.
Luai as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Help.
And the only problem I have is his defence.
Which has been his biggest issue this year. And mainly when he's shooting out of the line to take intercepts. But I think Freddie can get that under control and tell him just don't do that.
I think he might.
I
think he'll
also
have a
feel
really
like,
good game.
Because everyone talks about him in Origin last year. He's had an entire World Cup since then.
And
Samoa
another grand final win.
Yeah, and another premiership. So I think he would have matured a lot as like an Origin player, especially like he's got the series under his belt and he's done things that he can learn from. Like, he now knows, like, don't throw passes when you're 5 metres out from your line. So I'm happy with the replacement. Let's talk about the 18th man real quickly. Matt Burton called into camp. I've said a couple of times yesterday across socials, I would have preferred, and I said it the weeks leading into Origin when we thought Turbo was in doubt, I prefer Burton at centre over Crichton. What do you feel about that?
As of right now, I disagree.
You'd prefer
I'd have Crichton before him.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
The depth centre. Because I think, Burton, he can play centre. We know that. He played centre at Penrith, but he hasn't played there in a little while.
Yeah.
Not since he's learned to be a half now, and if he was to just be thrown straight back into centre at that top level, like, he'd do fine, but I'd pick someone more experienced in that position, like such as Campbell Graham or Stephen Crichton. So he would be top of the ranks to be the centre, but as of right now, I'd prefer Crichton.
I just want to preface, I don't even know if he's actually allowed to, because he wasn't in the squad, right?
If he's allowed to play.
If he's allowed to go straight to centre.
Oh, yeah,
because he wasn't in the squad. I feel like he wouldn't be allowed to. I don't know what
I feel like he'll be 19th man, and I feel like Stefano will.
I think he'll stay as 18th man.
Well, and Stefano will stay as 19th.
Because Stefano's a forward, and they've got 3 forwards on the bench. It doesn't make sense to have him 18th. And because of how versatile he is.
Blake Brayley caught up as well?
Blake Brayley's there as well. I think they'll stick with Burton because he can cover halves, centre, and I assume they've already got a plan to cover hooker. Although it could, if they've spent the week and gone, hang on, we have no idea how to cover hooker.
I've heard stuff that Jerome Luai and Cameron Murray could go.
And
there,
if that's the case,
come on,
maybe they use it maybe they use it as a chance to put Brayley at number 9. Sorry, not number 9, number 18. And then they have a backup plan for hooker.
I don't want to get into this, but why would you play Murray and Luai at number 9?
Let's circle back to that in a sec. Before we come back to that sort of stuff, I want to touch on Tommy Turbo.
Yeah.
Now, before the game, before selection, which was the Raiders-Manly game.
People didn't have him there.
Would you have picked him before that game?
I wouldn't have.
Would you have picked him after that game?
Yes. If that's the way he's going to play in Origin, definitely pick
Sign him up.
Yeah.
He was at his absolute best in that game. He was back.
Indeed he was. And is he going to stay like that for the rest of the year? Manly could be finals bound.
Yeah, that's a fair shout, yeah. But I just hope he stays like it's just for Origin at least. Even just 2 games of Origin.
Yeah. Well, when we get to our predictions, I'll talk about it a bit more because I do have Tom Trbojevic in a multi if we're going to do a multi for the game.
I didn't actually tell you what predictions to prepare, but I'm sure you can come up with it. It's pretty basic stuff. There is going to be multis.
Indeed.
So that's good.
I expected that.
Let's go. I'll tell you what, this wig is hurting my head. Let's go to the halves, Zane. Luai, Cleary. Now, Cleary, there's We don't even need to talk about Cleary. He speaks
Always
for himself.
Be there.
Jerome
Best
Luai,
player in the league.
Jerome Luai at 6.
This one was debated, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
There
How
were
do you
names
feel?
such as Hines getting tossed up. The Matt Burton got tossed up. Cody Walker was tossed up. There were a few names. Was there someone else?
Hines, Burton, Walker. I feel like that's it.
Yeah, it was those 3, I believe. So, you know.
Bit of drama going on outside.
Hopefully you didn't hear that, but, you know.
Bit of Origin spirit outside.
Yeah, probably some guy in a maroon jersey walking past the Blues going off at him. But
Anyway,
back to Luai.
yeah.
I'm happy for him being there. Like, I can't debate him not being there. Like, I'm not going to diss his selection at all.
Yeah, especially as of late, his form sort of clicked into gear a little bit. And I personally feel that the way forward into the future is probably either Hines or Burton. But Luai has done nothing to lose this jersey. I know we lost.
I think he gets
the
one more series at
last
least
year.
to prove himself.
I think he gets one game
to prove himself.
If he has a shocker in this game, I think he gets dropped.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I was going to say is I always wanted to give him at least one game.
Yeah.
To keep his jersey. If they win, he keeps it. If they lose and he has a really bad game, I think then Hines comes in.
I think he has to have a really shocking game. You know,
really
like 3
bad
knock-ons, an intercept, like stuff like that.
Like they can lose and he keeps his jersey if he's not the problem.
Exactly. Whereas Cleary, if he has a bad game, he's not losing his spot.
I think Cleary could have a bad series and keeps his spot.
Yeah, exactly. They'll stick law with him.
Surely. Now that was Zane. In my opinion, this is the craziest selection in Origin history.
Yeah.
Maybe not that far.
You know, I didn't see a single predicted side with him in it.
Leak,
not a rumour.
Tavita
or I believe
Jr.
there was a leak.
A leak. There might have been a leak like the day before.
No, but weeks before.
Oh, really?
Apparently, there was a reporter who heard the name Tavita at the Blues,
and
people thought it was Totola. Yeah,
that's where the Totola yarns
came from. But it was actually Tavita Pangai Jr. starting as well.
So we've got the best, obviously in the front row, the best front rower in the game, and Payne Haas. What do you make of the New South Wales front rows?
Yeah, I think it's lethal, but Pangai worries me.
Well,
you don't know.
Before we talk about Tavita, let's get Haas out of the way. He's like Cleary. He picks himself. He's the best forward in the game. There's no questions around him. But as you just said, there can be a bit of worry around Tavita Pangai Jr.
Yeah.
He can be a liability.
Especially with his opposition prop on the other side.
Flegler?
I don't know what could happen there.
I'll tell you what, though. As much as he can be a liability and a problem, he could also be the best player on the park.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's the beauty of Tavita Pangai Jr. He's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, because when he was at the Broncos, I'm like, this guy is the next big thing. Then, he slowed down a bit during that period when the Broncos were just just garbage. And he went to Penrith, got back to his best, and he went to the Dogs, had a bit of injury riddles within him. But this year, he's been all right. I don't think he's been at his peak where he was at the Broncos, but he's been solid.
He's been good. And the thing that excites me, you talk about him at the Broncos. Guess who his front row pairing was at the Broncos?
It was Payne Haas, yeah.
Payne Haas, the same bloke that's next to him in Origin. And they're known to be best friends, Zane.
Sorry, I just got a notification. Team lists are out for Team List Tuesday.
Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it. We'll do it tomorrow. But I've just seen the South side and I'm very...
You can spoil South if you want. Just don't tell me
the only
about
change, Tane Milne is out.
No Latrell?
No Latrell, Blake Taff, and Richie Kenner is in. He is in there. There we go. We'll talk about that tomorrow. In tomorrow's episode, won't we?
A bit of a sneak peek at this week's coming episode. Yeah, I think the fact that Haas is the bloke next to Tavita makes me less nervous. I really think Tavita can fire. I
didn't realise that until you just mentioned it, and that's actually a pretty clever move, isn't it?
It is, and I feel like that's half the reason he got selected. I think if Haas wasn't here, Tavita doesn't get picked. Yeah. I'd go as far as saying if Haas... the injury that happened that he's now overcome, if that injury went ahead and Kamanu came in, I reckon Tavita gets benched. Yeah. Like, he is purely there to be buddies with us.
I can't pronounce his name, Stefano. I just call him Stefano. He's got an odd selection, isn't he? Yeah. There must be something that Freddie sees in him, but I don't think many people would have expected him to come in.
He's been in camp once before. And I feel like Freddie just, he likes...
Yeah, I know. I remember that time when he was in camp, all the comments were just, who? Who's this?
This random bloke from the Tigers that no one had heard of.
Yeah, well,
I think that was the 21 series.
I didn't even know who he was when he got picked. I'm like, who's this bloke?
Yeah.
Can they pick Super League players if they wanted to, say of Origin? Or is it just NRL
It's
owner.
happened before.
Has it?
It's happened before with Alfie Langer.
What, they picked him from the Super League?
They picked him from Super League. You got to give that a Google. Go do some research on that, because that's arguably, because when I said Tavita's the biggest shock selection ever, that I was like, oh, maybe it's not, because that probably was the biggest shock selection ever.
Yeah,
I think
so they're allowed to do that.
I don't know if they're allowed to, but this was like 90s maybe.
Oh yeah,
Queensland
it
did
might have changed since.
Queensland said screw you guys and did. So
they
Alfie
can
like
go over
left,
to the Jamaican league and just pick a player.
Do your own research on this, because I don't know the full extent of it, but from my memory and my understanding, Queensland went down in this series, I feel like. And then everyone was like talking about who they're going to pick. And then, just picked Alfie Langer out of nowhere from England.
Flew over.
And everyone was like, what? And he had like a really good series. It's genuinely worth Googling that and like doing some research. It's really interesting.
I didn't know that ever happened.
Yeah, do some research on that. But to answer your question, I think you said, can they pick from England? They could back then. I don't know if they can anymore.
Yeah.
You'd think not.
But you wouldn't expect a player from England to be chosen if there's an NRL player playing over there.
Well,
for a reason.
keep in mind, Alfie Langer is regarded as like one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Especially at that time. And he'd been there and done it in Origin before. There's nobody in England right now that's played Origin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think there's a few.
There might be a couple. Like I know Napa was in England. He's back now. I guess Fergo is somewhere over there. Maloney, Corey Norman.
Yeah.
Technically,
so,
there would be a few.
Yeah.
But nobody you're picking.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like Maloney still would have been chosen if he's playing.
Like he could still.
He's one that could still get chosen, you know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's just retired, hasn't he, recently?
I don't think so.
I think he's close to.
He'd be close to it.
He wants some coaching role, he said, back in the NRL.
Yeah, interesting.
We're not talking about James
Mitchell
Maloney
Pearce,
right
he's
now.
over in England. Pearcey?
Would he get
Origin
picked
legend.
again?
Over Cleary.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say about the front row?
I know, I'm pretty happy with it. But the next position was very debated.
The second
rower,
rowers?
wasn't it? No, the hooker.
Let's talk about the hooker. Let's talk about Appy Coruscant.
Appy's in, Cookie's out. What do you think of that?
What do I think?
I think, I'm not sounding like a biased South fan. I'm happy with the back line. Graham not being there, I'm fine with it because the back line was elite with Latrell Mitchell.
I still think it is elite.
It still is elite, but Cookie not being there was just a joke. Cookie has done nothing to lose that jersey. He's not the player he was 5 years ago. He doesn't break the line every time he makes a run and score, but his defense is the top part of his game now.
You said that you don't want to be a biased South fan and say Cookie. I'm not a South fan, so I can't be biased, and I would have picked Cookie.
Yeah, over Appy.
And
based off the reason Appy's side is running 14th and Cook's side was in the top four technically. They're a top side, Appy's side's a bottom side.
Now, I've got nothing against Appy Coruscant, and
neither do I.
I'm not against the selection either.
It's a fine selection, but there is no way he should have been there over Cook.
I would have preferred Cook. I feel like Cook is more informed, and that's, once again, not against Appy. Appy is killing it at the Tigers, but I just feel Cook maybe was the safer option as well. He's got more Origin experience. His team was running well. And if I'm being honest, I feel like Appy has been selected because his halves are Panthers players and he's an ex-Panthers player.
And I think Cleary had a big part in deciding.
Yeah.
And there's these rumours that, similar to what happened to Regan Campbell, Cook doesn't get along with some of the Penrith boys, which I just think is a load of rubbish.
If it's true,
how do you know if that's true or not?
It could be true.
It could be.
It definitely could be. And I think at the end of the day, as you just touched on, Cleary would 100% play a role in the selection of his hooker and his six.
Yeah, and his fullback, to be honest.
And even his fullback.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me that Cleary's not picking his mates over... Yeah. And I've got nothing against Cleary doing that at all. That's just obviously what he's going to do. He's a dog if he doesn't do that. But I do think Cleary gets a say in the six and the
what
nine,
if he
maybe
came
the
out and said,
fullback
I want Jacob Little? Would they have done that?
I feel like Brad Fittler would go to Cleary and he'd say, Cleary, you know what? He wouldn't say Cleary, he'd say Nate, because that's what everyone calls him. That's close to him. He'd say, Nate, I'm thinking about Appy, I'm thinking about Cook. What would you prefer?
Yeah.
What hooker do you need to...
What if he said Jacob Little?
And if Cleary turned to Brad Fittler and said, Freddie,
Moses Hembler.
I don't want either of them.
I apologise.
I want Jacob Little. I think Freddie would have said, Cleary, you've been dropped, mate. Hines coming in. But
That's just...
I'll tell you what, Jacob Little's performance on the weekend, which we'll touch on in the next episode, that's origin quality.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, I think, as I said, Appy, I'm not against the decision.
Yeah,
He'll
I'm
do
not
a
against
job.
it, but the fact that he's there over Cook is just beyond
I would
me.
have preferred Cook. But
And there's a chance it could come back to bite him, to be honest with you.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I don't know if it can.
I hope it does.
You know what? It could, in the sense that Cook's an 80-minute hooker.
Appy isn't.
Appy isn't. And you're right, that could come back to bite them.
Yeah. Then you watch will they put on will Pangai Jr. move the hooker? Or will Murray move the hooker? Or will Luai? I don't know.
Let's touch on that now, the whole hooker debate. It's come out in the news this week that they've sort of gone, oh, hang on, Appy can't play 80 minutes. He's averaging 67 minutes this year at the Tigers. Infamously came off the bench for the Tigers in round one. The yarns going around is that Luai or Cameron Murray are the biggest chances of going in to cover
How
hooker if
ridiculous
Appy doesn't
is
get
that?
Yeah. What do you think?
Why would Murray play hooker? Like, why Murray of all people? Why not Hines?
Now that's my
why
answer to the
Murray?
solution. Nico Hines literally came off the bench at the Storm for like half a season at least, and filled in everywhere: fullback, centre, hooker, in the middle.
But I think what they want to use Hines is in the same way that Souths a couple of years ago when they made the grand final, when they have three halves on at one time with Benji, Reynolds and Walker. I think that's what they're trying to do with Hines there.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it worked at South. Like, Benji Marshall wasn't like bad at South by any means. He was actually really, really good for us.
The difference is that at South you had Reynolds, who's a dominant half, and then you had Walker and Marshall, who I'd say are secondary halves.
And that's exactly like they'd have Marshall one side, Walker the other, creating moments, and that's how South was scoring 40+ points every game.
But the problem here is Hines at the moment is a dominant half like Cleary. And if you're having two dominant halves, they clash heaps.
Exactly.
And that creates
they're the two best halves in the game.
And Hines can be a secondary half, but at the moment he is a dominant half. And back to the hooker thing, I really do believe that Hines can cover hooker.
Yeah, I agree.
He did it at Storm. And I thought that's what they were going with. And that's why I was advocating for Hines off the bench. I remember at one stage I was like, if Luai gets dropped, I'd rather burden at 6 to have Hines on the bench because of his versatility, because he can cover hooker. And everyone's just seemingly forgot about that. And even centre, like everyone's sort of like, oh, who's going to cover centre? Hines. He's played centre. Yeah. He's so versatile, and it's like everyone's just forgot.
The Blues play like fullbacks at centres, and Hines is still like technically can play fullback. Like,
exactly, Hines can play fullback as well. Like, I just don't understand. I remember when he signed with Sharks, people were questioning it. They were like, "Why would Sharks sign a centre fullback?" Because that's what he was at Storm.
Yeah.
And so I just don't understand the panic and the chats of having Cameron Murray going to hooker when you have Nico Hines on the bench. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't know why it was even brought up.
It's just silly. And like Luai as well. Like, why? Why?
Keep him in the halves.
Leave.
When has he played hooker ever?
If you don't have to change
Luai
your
cannot
halves,
tackle. If Queenslanders see him in the
to
middle,
be honest,
they're going
I
at him.
actually rate Luai's defence.
Yeah, but if Queenslanders see him, they're going at him.
As a hooker, yeah.
You're right down the middle. Those middles are going to rip into him.
You'd be able to say the same about Hines, though, I think. But
yeah, but Luai's more of a player you'd want to smash, like, as a player. He's down the middle
targetable.
And
you don't want to target Hines. He's too hot. You're not running at the hot
Especially if it's raining down in Adelaide on Wednesday. They'll need to bring him on as soon as possible.
That'd be keeping I'll tell you what, if it's raining, if I'm Brad Fittler and I'm in Adelaide on Wednesday night, tomorrow night, or tonight, depending on when you're watching, and it starts raining, a couple of hours before, I'm starting Nico Hines over Cleary. Bench Cleary, start Nico Hines. You can't ignore the wet hair, Nico. You can't ignore that. He's undefeated in the rain, except for, the games he's lost.
Against the Warriors, yeah.
But yeah, to wrap up this whole 9-yarn, I think Cook would have been a better selection, especially in terms of the 80-minute hooker. But Appy will do a job, and Hines, if Appy doesn't play 80, Hines is the one to cover him.
Yeah.
All right, Zane. Frizzell, Hudson Young, second row.
Frizzell's interesting. I didn't expect him to start. Like, I had him in my side, I believe. Did I?
You might have.
I did it a few weeks ago.
I don't remember.
Like, it's purely on experience. Like, I feel like he's been the Knights' best player this year.
Yeah.
Best player.
Yeah.
Not one of the best, the best player at the Knights.
Yeah.
The way he's just run the line and scored some of those tries. So, he's a good selection, I reckon.
I personally don't know if I would have picked
Because,
him.
they've picked Tarek Sims for, like, the last few years, and everyone's been like, Tarek Sims, what's he done? It's just similar with Rizal.
And
like,
he went all right.
He's just solid, like, and he'll get the job done at that level as well.
Well, I think, as of right now, is he a top 3 second rower in the game?
No, he's not.
Probably not, but he's still up to
He's a
Origin
workhorse,
standard.
though. He's a workhorse.
He's a bloody workhorse.
And he's a leader.
Yeah, he's a leader. I personally wouldn't have had him in my side, but in saying that, I'm not against the decision, especially now that I've thought about it more. Experience, been there and done it in Origin. He's got a bit of wisdom, a bit of leadership, and he's a workhorse. He's a goer. I don't have anything against it. As I said, I personally wouldn't have had him in my side. I like Ola Kawadu and stuff over him.
Yeah.
And in saying that, it is risky running Ola Kawadu and Hudson Young, 2 rookies at once as well.
Yeah, that's, I think,
so
another
I'm not
factor
against
into it.
Now, Huddy Young, the Raiders
I really like it. I really rate this guy.
I'm excited.
I think he's an absolute weapon.
You look at how he goes at the Raiders.
I think he's going to have a blinder on tomorrow. I think it'll be an awesome game he'll have.
The fact that he's now got like Hines and Luai as his halves compared to Wyden and Fogarty, I think he could really go to another
Might be bold
level.
saying this. I reckon he's going to have a similar series to Patrick Carrigan did last year.
I don't hate
just
that.
Have a massive,
it's bold,
yeah,
but I don't hate it. I really think he can take it.
I reckon he's a smoky to get player of the series.
He's definitely a smoky.
Yeah.
Definitely a smoky.
But like,
to be value in that on Pickleback.
Dark horse to get player of the series, in my opinion.
I really think there's a massive chance he just steps up into the arena.
He could lock that like number 12 jersey in for the next, 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. Because he's only young. And Ricky Stewart's always saying, he said it for years, that Hudson Young's built for Origin. And now tomorrow night or tonight, depending on when you're watching, you get to see him in Origin. I'm excited. I think it's a good pick.
I think it is as well.
Now, the lock. I feel like this is on the same level as Tedesco, Cleary, Haas. Isaiah Yard lock.
Yeah. Locked in. I mean,
lock in the lock.
Yeah. Some people would have Cameron Murray there, and I can see why. And move Yo to the edge because earlier in his career, Yo was a second rower, which is understandable. But he's we'll bring this lock debate up. Who's the best lock in the game?
I think Yo is the best
Murray.
lock in the game.
I have
Murray.
I have Murray, but I'm biased. But
yeah, I go Yo then Murray.
I think based on the way New South Wales play, Murray's better as a second rower.
Yeah.
Like being that battle ram off the edge, whereas Yo, is that link player, which Murray's more of like just a ball runner lock. Yeah. Whereas Yo's more of just like a defense and like hard running.
I also think Yo's combinations with the halves.
Exactly. That's
and the
other thing as well.
Yeah. I think that's obviously going to play a big role, and the game plan will be very similar to whatever the Panthers run with, which, that is what it is. You're speaking of Cameron Murray, I think his versatility as well through the forward back, he can essentially play anywhere in the forwards.
Can play anywhere.
And hooker, apparently.
Hooker, yeah.
So I feel like...
Centre, I won't rule out centre, to be honest.
Let's go straight to the bench while we're here. Let's talk about the bench. We're talking about Murray.
Paulo,
Murray. So it's Paulo, Murray, Martin and Nico.
Yeah.
I would have had Murray starting at second row. Personally,
you would have had him starting over Frizzell or
or over either of them. To be honest, I think in my side I had Murray and Ola Kawatu.
Yeah, I agree. But I think Murray can bring a lot off the bench.
Well, that's what I was
saying. He's a very fast sort of middle, where he can come on and just run through the tide. And that worked last year when they started him on the bench. He scored that pretty solid try where he just broke the line.
And I think the fact that there's outside of Murray, there's only one front rower on the bench in Paulo. I think there's a big chance he plays through the middle. And so I feel like that's kind of the reason.
And you think the other reason they're benching him is because he gets knocked out every time he starts, within 2 minutes. Yeah, it's happened twice, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there was one year where he done his hamstring.
Definitely happened game 3 last year.
There was one game where he did his hamstring, didn't it?
Yeah.
Early in the game, so maybe.
No, I think he'll be good off the bench because he can still play big minutes as well. And so if there is an injury, he can come on and just fill in literally anywhere. So I like him on the bench. I like Paulo off the bench. I think he's going to be really good impact off the bench.
You listen to interviews with players, they say he's the hardest player to go up against, Junior Paulo. Because he's just a complete monster, how big he is.
He's like Talakai, but bigger.
Talakai's more short.
That's what I mean.
Paulo's more massive.
Paulo's like a wrecking ball, but big as well.
Eels Dogs game earlier in the year where he walked up to the fence to take a run. I was just like, this guy is huge, like a giant.
Yeah.
I cannot believe players actually bent down to try and hit him. I was like, how on earth are they doing this?
And to think he's coming off the bench.
Yeah.
That's if you want to talk about impact off the bench. wow, look no further.
And he's another player who, like 6 years ago, I never would have expected to play State of Origin.
Yeah.
It's the same with Isaiah Yo. Like, a couple of years ago, you'd be like, yeah, they're good players, but I don't think they're going to be Origin class, whereas now they are.
Martin, I think
it's solid, yeah. I still would have had Olakuatu over him as of right now.
I would have gone Martin. I feel like
he's missed most of this year.
He's experienced. That is true. But
that's why I would have gone.
He's experienced in Origin. In the World Cup last year, he was off the bench and he was so good in the World Cup. He was so underrated in the World Cup. I just feel like he's an
underrated player.
And that is a good point. Like, he has been injured, but the 1 or 2 games he's played, he showed that he's at full health, and he played really good against the Broncos the other week. So
he had a massive game there, and that's what locked him into that spot. I think that game,
definitely. So I'm happy with him there. And then we already sort of touched on Nico.
Yeah, we did.
Which
he had to have been in that side somewhere. You can't not include the Dalian Player of the Year.
Now, Matt Burton, 18th man. We already sort of touched on him, but let's just talk a bit more. Obviously,
he originally wasn't there.
Yeah, so he's been called into camp late, flew down to Adelaide late because obviously Latrell's injury moved Crichton from 18th man.
So is Crichton going to still wear number 18?
That's what I was wondering. Or is he
going to wear number 3 now?
I was wondering.
Because I think they made the jerseys.
Because Taylor makes the jerseys. So
I feel like he will wear 18.
I feel like Crichton will wear 18. And then I was wondering.
I feel like Burton will be 21.
I was wondering, what number is Burton going to be?
I reckon he'll be number 21.
If I'm Matt Burton and I'm flown into camp and they start numbering me up, you know what I'm saying to him? Don't give me 21, which is what he'd be because Stefano's 19, Brayley's 20.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm Matt Burton, I'm going, baby, knock it up 2 more. Give me 23, the GOAT number. Imagine Matty Burton running out to Origin in 23. He'd be unstoppable. He's already unstoppable. That's what I'm doing if I'm Matt Burton. But yeah, obviously, Latrell got injured. Crichton goes into the centre, and then there were doubts around Cleary. He's infected too.
Yeah, so I think that was just a mind game, that one.
Well, apparently he did wake up with like a swollen face.
Yeah.
And then it sort of just got
Well, it was that game against South, like in 2020, where he had that like face infection.
Yeah, remember that?
Remember that? And he completely owned us in that game.
He had like a blinder. That was like Michael Jordan flu games. I remember that. Yeah. He was like barely recognizable.
One side of his face was just all like black.
He was like in hospital that day.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that's when people started noticing. Like, this was 2020.
That's when he really was like, oh, this dude can play.
Yeah, well, everyone's like, this team's just looking good around this time. Because I remember, like, during that period, I'm like, South can win this game, but Penrith owned us in that game. Yeah, and that was the game where people started noticing.
Stepped up and took control.
It was the game when people started noticing that this Penrith team's got a big future ahead of them.
And you said that was 2020.
Yeah, it was like round 7. So, it was just after the lockdown, like a few weeks in. And Penrith had, I think, lost 1. They drew 1 because they lost to the Eels the week before.
Yeah,
then they drew to the Knights the week before.
Yeah.
So I think they were like 3-1-1. So, they weren't like seen as a big threat yet, but this was the game where people started noticing them. Yeah.
Yeah, you're 100% correct.
But so, he can play with an infected face.
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt about it.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of people like, just pull out the tooth. Just pull it out. That's nothing. But yeah, I feel like Brad Fittler sort of was quoted in interviews. Brad Fittler like said a couple of things as a joke, and then the media just ran with it.
Yeah.
Danny Widler came out and was like, "Oh, Cleary's in doubt now." He was never in doubt.
He's always playing.
And then, but that was sort of the reason Burton came in. Obviously, they needed an 18th man because obviously, as we said, Brayley was an option, but they wanted somebody that could cover halves and backs, I think, because just in case Cleary went down. I think they sort of brought Burton in case he had to play 14. Yeah. And they saw him as like the next best 14. I think,
or 17 as the Blues are doing this year.
Or 17, yeah. The bench utility. Just quietly, is Matt Burton the greatest 18th man in the world or what? Name a better 18th man ever.
What about... I'll go back a few years ago, but maybe, possibly.
I think genuinely, and I know this sounds biased, but he is a really good 18th man. Especially when you consider, like, he's been there and done it in Origin. He's been there and done it in the World Cup. He can cover heaps of positions. He's a premiership winner. He's got the biggest bombs ever. He's a really good 18th man.
Yeah, I would say yes, but...
Off the top of your head, you can't think of a better 18th man.
No, I can't, but let's look through some of the...
You're trying to see. You don't want to accept facts.
I think you're right.
I'm never wrong, mate.
It definitely wasn't Tyrone Peachey in 2019, so... No, I'll say yes.
Shout out to Matty Burton, greatest 18th man.
I could do more research. And actually, Nico Hines like in 2021. Should have thought of that off the top of my head, but
Me personally, I'm taking Burden as an AFL fan.
wonder why.
There's no bias there. I know 5 minutes ago I was literally saying that Nico Hines is one of the most versatile players in history, but not as much as Matt Burden. All right, Nico Hines might be versatile, but can he kick really high?
He can, but not as high.
Not as high.
Yeah.
But he's hotter if it's raining. I'll tell you what. Wet hair Nico as 18th man is better than Burden as 18th man.
Absolutely.
It goes wet hair Nico, Matt Burden, dry hair Nico. Oh man. Let me just have a look. Was there any talking points? Actually, there was I was gonna say Gerbo got ruled out, but that's not really a talking point because we touched on Tavita. Like he wasn't dropped.
The biggest one's Troll being out, obviously.
That's
the biggest one.
Turbo, we talked about. Fox, we talked about. Frizzell, Young, Murray. Yeah. Do you think there'll be any changes before the game?
I feel like if there was, it'd be Murray starting and Hudson Young coming to the bench. Or one of the second roles.
I thought there was a chance that Tavita might get benched.
Yes,
but I don't think so anymore.
No, I still think they would want to start Junior Paulo. I think if there is a change, either Liam Martin or Murray will start over one of the second roles. It'll be one of those,
And they usually do make it. They used to always name Murray and then bench him.
Yeah.
I do feel like Tavita's better off the bench as well, just quietly.
Yeah. But I don't think he's as good as Paulo.
Because he's probably going to play smaller minutes than Paulo. That's the only thing. But it just depends what stint. Do you want him playing? You probably do want him playing the opening to try and get Queensland too fired up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that's exactly what I've named him to start.
Yeah, that's what I think. So I'm going to guess no changes. Maybe second rowers.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Maybe Young. I feel like maybe it makes more sense.
Yeah,
because if you start Murray. And then you have Murray play like 20 minutes, jump on the bench, have a short stint, and then rotate into the middle for like Haas. So you start Tavita and Haas, and then you start Frizz and Murray, and then say at the 20-minute period, Paulo goes on for Tavita.
Yeah.
Young goes on for Murray, and then say 10 minutes later, 30th minute, take Haas off. Put Murray on, and then Haas gets a little breather, and then he just plays the whole second half. Something like that.
That's a clever thing to do, to be honest with you.
So I think there is a chance that maybe Martin will start, just to make the rotations
more easy.
Yeah, easier, just in terms of balancing minutes. All right, Zane, let's take these wigs off. Let's take the wigs
Queensland.
off. All right, let's get into
the wigs are gone. Why would we wear them when we're talking about these pricks?
Yeah, we're not. Let's just skip over the Queenslanders. Let's just finish the podcast. The Queenslanders, the two-headed freaks from up north, Zane.
Yeah. So go through the side. Walsh at fullback. All right. Cobo Tulangi.
Nothing to talk about. Nothing there.
Whatever. They're going to get pumped.
All right, Reece Walsh. He's in. Pong is out. Pick and stick. More like pick and flick. Goodness me. There's no loyalty in Queensland, Zane. No loyalty up there. If I'm any of these places squad, I'm panicking because I'm like, oh, my spot's not guaranteed. You know what? They might drop Munster and Daly Cherry Evans.
They might,
There's no loyalty there.
I thought DC was never going to play Origin again. But the only reason he got picked was because they had no other halves. So,
All right.
That's how it went.
What do you make of Reece Walsh and not Kalen Ponga?
I rate Reece Walsh at club level. I don't know about him at rep level.
I think he's got too many errors in him.
Yeah, and I think his defence is still a big problem.
Yeah.
And the problem I have with him is that he plays like he's trying to score every single time he gets the ball.
Yeah.
Every single time. I don't know if Slater can control him.
I feel like if there is anyone that can control him, to their credit, it is probably Billy Slater.
Yeah.
As a fullback himself. If there's anyone that can control it. I'm not saying he can, but if there is anyone, Billy's the man for the job. I feel like Kalen Ponga was their best player last series outside of Paddy Carrigan.
Should have got there. Realistically, probably I would have said
just
Wally Lewis medal.
Best, yeah. And to see him dropped, I know he's got concussion history.
He hasn't played much.
He's not concussed at the moment.
He hasn't played much fullback this year, but it's a weird...
If they were loyal, they would have picked Kalen Ponga.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say.
They would have.
That's all I'm going to say. I feel sorry for Kalen Ponga, if I'm being honest.
But it's going to be weird not seeing him there.
He's as a New South Wales fan, I'm glad they've gone Reece Walsh.
Because he goes to another level when he plays Origin.
That's the only time he plays good. When we talk about Kalen Ponga at club level, we're always like, oh, we can see what he does at Origin. Why doesn't he do it here?
Yeah.
He's so good in Origin, and Reece Walsh, rookie.
And the other bloke in the back line's been left out. It's another one that we can talk about.
Let's jump to centres.
Yeah, we'll do centres first.
Dane Gagai, as I said, no loyalty in Queensland.
Another player who's just mighty when he plays for Queensland.
They've gone Holmes and Hammer.
Which is fine, but Hammer's a bit worrying. He's been an elite fullback at the Dolphins this year.
I would have gone Gagai.
I would have as well.
It's Origin Gags.
And I feel like if they lose his first game, Gagai will be back.
And Ponga, I feel like, as well.
Yeah, will be back.
I just, how you dropping Origin Gags? Just like Ponga, everyone knows that he goes to a next level.
And Gagai's always that player who everyone's like, why doesn't he show this?
Yeah,
why doesn't he?
Club level.
And even Wayne Bennett said a few years ago when he coached the Maroons, he's like, why don't you wear your Queensland jersey underneath your South one?
There's always memes about it. It's just such a common fact that Gagai kills it in Origin. He's like one of the top try scorers.
He'd be like elite winger or just back player if he played like that in club level. And that's when he came to South. I was so excited, and then he was just like he was great for South, no denying that, but he just was never at that level he was in Origin.
It's weird. And obviously, Holmes sort of picks himself. I would have gone Hammer on the wing and Gagai at centre.
I agree. But I would have picked him on the wing over Tulangi.
The wingers, Tulangi and Cobbo.
Tulangi, I'm a bit
I think Cobbo, that's a fine
that's
pick
a lot,
himself.
But Cobbo's still got a few issues in his game. But Tulangi,
he does have errors in his game.
I know Slater loves him. Slater's a big fan of Tulangi. Yeah.
I feel like this is almost a...
I wouldn't have had Xavier Coates there.
Yeah,
I just don't think he's been...
Well, as I said, I would have gone Hammer on the wing and Gagai. Or the other way around. If you're that desperate to play Hammer at centre, put Gagai on the wing.
Oh, yeah. We know how Gagai can play on the wing.
He's done it for Queensland multiple times.
And I think he's a better winger than he is a...
Yeah, I don't get this one. As a New South Wales fan, it makes me happy, to be honest.
Same. But absolutely.
I feel like credit to Billy Slater. He could have gone the safe option with Ponga and Gagai. But he has taken a risk. He's rolled the dice. He's got some balls on him. Good on him.
Very, very loyal.
I hope that it does not work out for him.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
I hope it doesn't as well.
All right, the halves. Munster and Daly Cherry Evans.
Done. Do we need to talk? They're always going to be there.
They pick themselves.
And that's the problem for Queensland in the future. They don't have... Well, they do have halves coming through, but they don't have Dearden, Sam Walker. Can't even crack the Roosters side.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a concern.
Cowboys are bottom 2 at the moment.
I think that's why Dearden will get to the 18th man, but I think that's why they have him as 18th man to slowly bring him in as that next half.
He was really good in Game 3 last year.
Oh, yeah.
He played really good.
Was. And I think that's the plan. He's going to be that when Cherry Evans retires, which won't be long, only a couple of seasons, I believe.
Yeah.
He'll be that next number 7.
To just on Cherry Evans quickly before we move past ourselves, I think Munster, we know what he can do. He's a big game player. Always kills us in Origin. He's one of the game's best players in general, but he's just, when you talk about made for Origin, it's Cameron Munster.
Yeah.
He's just such a classy Origin player. Daly Cherry Evans came out, I think, over the weekend or whatever, and said that he admitted that the Australian jersey is Cleary's, and he said that he wants to win it back.
Yeah.
He thinks he's winning it back?
Yeah.
Screw you, Daly Cherry Evans.
Not getting it back. Cleary, it will be there for the rest of his career.
Retire from rep footy,
bro. Australian number 7, or whatever it was, number 14, as he wore in that game.
Yeah. The front rowers now. This is where I get a little bit frightened. This is where I pee myself a little bit, Zane, because Flegler and Collins at the front.
Flegler, that's an interesting one.
It is. I thought they would have had him off the bench.
Yeah.
They decided to start him.
And started Tino. That's what I think they would have done.
Yeah, I thought they would have started Tino and Flegler off the bench. They've done the opposite. Collins, I feel like that makes sense. He's been and done it. He looks like he's from Space Jam. Shout out to Lindsay Collins. But yeah, Flegler, it sort of makes sense, I feel. But yeah, I thought that he would have been off the bench. What do you feel like?
I agree. I would have started Tino and have Flegler off the bench. But I think the reason I have Tino is because what Tino can bring off the bench is massive.
Do you think that Tavita starting also played a role here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Flegler and Tavita going at it. And maybe they're also trying to keep Tino away from Haas and Tavita because they don't want Tino getting in trouble.
Exactly, yeah. Tino's big enemies are those starting
he's already
middles
punched on with Haas. He's got beef with Tavita.
Yeah.
There could be fireworks. There could be fireworks.
I reckon Tino will be involved if there is.
I think as soon as Tino subs on, if I'm Brad Field, I'm like, all right, Tavita, you're done. Get off.
Yeah.
Job's done.
Unless they're up by 30, which probably won't. Which will happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Keep him on there just for some fun.
Ben Hunt at hooker makes sense.
Yeah. We can throw Harry Grant in this discussion as well.
Yeah.
Some people say start Grant, bench Hunt. That'll still work. Hunt can play 14.
It's the exact same.
But the reason I have Grant there is just for that spark that he adds.
He's got a bit more oomph off the bench. He's got oomph.
Yeah, oomph.
Sometimes you need a bit of oomph in Origin.
Oomph.
Oomph.
Yeah, and the Blues tried copying it last year, which
it didn't work.
Didn't really work.
Because I'll tell you what, not everyone has a bit of oomph.
Yeah.
Cookie,
unlike the
they
Queensland.
don't have oomph, but Harry Grant does.
Yeah.
That's my analysis. But yeah, would you have started Grant or do you like him off the bench? Because I remember when we first did that
I'd
team
keep
list,
it the way it
Grant,
is, but I feel like Hunt's a better 14 than Grant.
Yeah,
because Hunt can play halfback.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of how they use him. Like I said before, the way the Rabbitohs used to play, he's a third half in a way.
I feel like at some stages last year, they didn't even bench Hunt. They just moved him into the middle,
And they played the Benji Marshall, Cody Walker and Reynolds sort of thing. They had a half on each side that can do the job.
Yeah, which just comes down to how you want your rotation to work, and that's sort of why they start Hunt. Also, let's not forget, this bloke literally just won him an Origin series. Literally won them Origin last year in the infamous charge down, I suppose, the go dozer moment.
Yeah.
PTSD.
With John's throwing his headset.
With John's throwing his headset. Cameron Smith in the back.
Yeah.
Go dozer! You gotta hate it, but also you kind of like it.
Losing his voice, trying to call it.
Ben Hunt has won Origin.
There was a lot going on
in the back as Joey throws his headset.
I really want to see camera footage of that box.
Oh,
That moment. Yeah.
100%. Can you imagine? Gilbert and Fafita, the second
Gilbert's
rowers.
an interesting one, isn't it?
It's very weird.
I didn't expect him to be there, but I think the reason I have him there is because he's an Origin player, and he's proven he's an Origin player.
I think there's concerns already with Gilbert.
Playing second row, or just being there.
Playing second row, because did you see the news that came out about Queensland's sort of pose session against the Ipswich Jets, who are coming last in Queensland Cup?
Oh, yeah, I've heard a bit about this. They lost.
Queensland lost to the worst Queensland lost to the worst Queensland Cup team, and apparently it was Gilbert, and then I feel like Hammer and Cobbo's edge.
Yeah.
And apparently Daly Cherry sprayed them because they literally conceded a lot of tries. So I think there's a bit of concern around Gilbert playing second row, and I feel like that sort of makes sense because the reads are different, and that sort of proves it, I feel.
So you don't know about Tom Gilbert? Because I think that's the side they're going to
He's an Origin player.
Oh, yeah.
But I just don't know about him at second row, starting second row. I personally wouldn't have started Fafita.
Oh, I would have.
I would have preferred him off the bench.
Or would you have played him in centre like the Titans did last year?
I would have picked him at centre. Yeah.
Because, it worked with Talakai, so they tried it with him and it was just a disaster.
The interesting thing, let's talk about Capewell getting snubbed. Talk about Ponga and Gagai.
I've never really rated Capewell.
Really?
I've never really thought, he's an Origin player.
I reckon he's caught up in a bit of Panthers hype.
Yeah, that's why I think he was originally.
I personally think that Capewell's snubbing might be bigger than Ponga and Gagai's.
You reckon?
Because of his utility value.
Yeah, I don't rate Capewell. I never have as well. I'm just like...
I rate him, plus the fact that the amount of times he's had to cover centre for Queensland when there's an injury or a reshuffle, which happens a lot in Origin. You talk about Game 3 last year. I think in 2020 he was named in the centres. I can't believe that they've dropped him because you look at this team.
I kind of saw it coming.
Because
even he was caught up in the Panthers hype. I agree with you there, but since moving to the Broncos, I don't think he's been.
I don't think he was caught up in the Panthers hype. I rate Capewell. I think he's a good player.
Similar to me with Branko Lee. There's a lot of people who rave on about him, and I just really is it that good? And Ray Stone as well.
Yeah.
I just don't see what other people see in them. I'm just are they really that good? Stone can put on a big hit now and then, but I don't feel like
I think Queensland are known to pick not the best players, the best team.
Yeah.
And I personally do think that the second rowers they've got are better than Capewell. But when you're trying to pick the best team, if Valentine Holmes, for example, gets injured, who's going to centre?
You're right.
What's the reshuffle?
Fafita.
It's Fafita because Walsh can't cover wing or centre, I don't think. Because obviously you could go Munster to fullback and then punch Walsh in there. I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah,
because
I don't think they would either.
I don't think Walsh can play there. And so the only other option...
It'd be one of the second rows.
Can't be Grant. It's got to be...
Fafita.
It's got to be Fafita. And that's why I'm like, why wouldn't you have Catewell, who has done it in the past?
On the bench, they could move out there like Dry Arrow. He could play center, but you're just a bit...
Maybe. I feel like it is weird dropping Catewell. He's been there and done it. He was in a bunch of ads for like Forex and stuff, and just his utility value. If you're trying to pick the best team, I think Catewell should have been there, and I really do think that he might be a bigger snub than Ponga and Gagai in that aspect.
Yeah.
So you're happy with Fafita starting?
Yeah, I am. I
you think it benefits
Fafita.
Queensland?
He's one of my favourite second rows in the game.
He's been killing it recently too.
Like, he's not like he was a few years ago where he needed his half to get him in the game.
Yeah, he gets himself in the game now.
He just runs for the ball now.
And then Paddy Carrigan at lock.
Yeah, no debate there. He didn't play there last year.
He was off the bench last year.
I know,
yeah. But he showed what he can do.
Yeah, he's locked in there.
He's such a good player.
Who was locked last year?
I thought it might have been Tino, wasn't it? I thought it might have been Tino. Maybe
it was either Tino or Gilbert. It was one of those two.
Yeah, no, Carrigan definitely should be locked. Player of the series last year.
Best Queensland lock in the game. Third best lock behind Murray and Rowe anyway.
I agree.
So,
and
he
then
had to be there.
Grant at 14, we already sort of touched on him with Hunt.
We know how that works.
Punch in at hooker.
Then the bench.
Tino, Cotter, Arrow. That's scary.
It is. A lot of people didn't have Joe Arrow there.
Yeah.
I'm just a bias.
Well, you started him. You said he should have started at prop.
Of course I did, but he brings a lot off the bench. And I think he's better in the middle than he is in the second row.
And he's got experience as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Cotter... Once again,
speaks for himself. He's always going to be there. Yeah.
He's got dog in him. You want to talk about that? Someone having dog in him?
And Tino. Your favourite man.
he picks himself. I would have started him.
Yeah, I would have
started him. But yeah, that's Queensland. Dearden 18th man. Sort of touched on him.
The 19th man.
And 19th man, Christian Welch.
And
I don't think they ever got up to 20.
Not to be in the side either.
Yeah. Yeah. I also would have started Welsh, to be honest.
Yeah.
I rate him.
Who do you think's unlucky to miss out in this Queensland side?
Obviously, we said Ponga, Gagai, Capel. You mentioned Coates.
Yeah, Coates.
Could have been in there. I don't know if there's really anyone else. There's a lot of forwards that could have been in there. Hopgood, Horsburgh.
Yeah, Horsburgh is a big one.
They've got plenty of
forwards. I think, is very unlucky to miss out.
Yeah, he's been there.
Both Firmo, if he was playing this year, would be in that side. 100%.
Yeah, there's just... Their forward depth is insane, Queensland. We talked about Flegler, Fafita, Gilbert, Tino, Hammer at centre, Tuolangi and Dearden. So that's all I've got to say about Queensland. You got anything else?
Yeah, Blues 30 plus.
All right. Well, speaking of a little bit of a prediction, Zane. So the way I've done it, obviously, as I said earlier, I didn't actually get you to prep anything. We're doing game one predictions and series predictions. So the game one prediction, that's going to be a multi. It'll be a multi. I don't know if it'll be the exact of what we're picking, but it will be in some aspect. We're going, winner, margin, so either 1 to 12 or 13 plus, just for game one, a first try scorer, and an anytime try scorer. And the multi might change on Picklebet. Shout out to Picklebet. Actually, before we get into it, let's give a shout out to Picklebet.
Yeah, of course.
The home of Origin gambling, the home of Origin footy, unofficially. If you're going to have a bet, do it with Picklebet. Zane, what's the code?
I got to remember, it's Code HOTDOG, but the number I'm thinking of again.
Do you know the phone number? I'll throw that back to you in a second.
04.
That's 04?
That's how it starts, isn't it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, as Zane just said, Code HOTDOG, get on Picklebet, place some bets, get on these bets. These bets are exclusive to Picklebet because you can go into like a special section on Picklebet, Rugby League outrights, and these bets will be there under Orange Peelers Multi. So make sure you're doing that. Code HOTDOG. Do it responsibly. If you're going to have a bet, set a deposit limit, 18 plus only. If you're having trouble, Zane, what phone number are you going to call?
Give it to us, Winston.
1-800-858-858.
Yeah.
Or I think it's gamblinghelpline.org. Not .com, .org.
There we go.
Let's get into it. Give me your
my
winner.
multi for the game. Blues 1 to 12, bet by 6 to be specific.
Blues 1 to 12?
Yes. Man of the match, Nathan Cleary.
Yep.
First try scorer. I was in my bold predictions early near that he'd make his way back into the side and have an absolute blinder, score 3 tries. First try scorer, Josh Adokar. Then anytime try scorer, Hudson Young.
Oh, that's a smoky.
How do you think of that?
So you said New South Wales 1 to 12. You said Fox first try. You said Huddy Young.
Anytime.
And who was your man of the match?
Nathan Cleary.
I like it. That's interesting. Hudson Young, anytime. Bit of a smoky. The way these multis will be on Picklebet, it'll be winner and margin, and then it'll either be both first try score anytime or just one of them. We'll see what happens. Me personally, I'm going New South Wales 13 plus. I
could back it as well.
I was literally thinking 30, 40 plus before Latrell got ruled
50
out.
in the house.
Now that 50 in the house bounce, but now Latrell's out, I'm like,
yeah,
maybe not that much. I'm still going 13 plus though. I'm going Tommy Turbo first try scorer.
Yeah, like
you know, he's like 2 tries behind the all-time New South Wales leader for try scorers. He's scored 2 hat tricks before.
I like it.
He knows how to score a try. I'm going Foxy anytime.
Like that
back
as well.
in Origin. You got him first try scorer. I want him anytime.
He will 100% score in this game.
Surely.
I guarantee you.
And he do a little dance as well.
Yeah.
And then my man of the match, I'm going Tommy Turbo. He loves.
I like that too.
You think back to like Perth 2019, where he just dominated.
He doesn't like loud music and dancing along, but he loves playing Origin.
He's been mentally prepping all week because he's just been zoning out the music. He's just been thinking tries. He's in for a big one. He
is.
It's like, I picture a Beyblade. Do you remember Beyblades?
Oh, yeah.
He like have them when you rip. This is bloody. That's Tommy Turbo in Origin. You just rip, and he's just going to go. He's just going to rip and tear. Now, overall, the series predictions.
Blues 3-0.
We're going winner. You've almost just read my mind, mate.
Yeah.
We've got winner, score, player of the series, and top try scorer for the series. You go New South Wales
3-0.
New South Wales sweep.
Clean sweep, obviously.
Get the brooms out.
And player of the series will be Nathan Cleary.
Or
it could be Billy Slater, to be honest with you. Could be Billy Slater. I won't rule that out.
Billy Slater, Wally Lewis medal.
Yeah.
And then most tries?
Most tries? I would have said Tromit, but
yeah, you can still
back this guy to score Josh Adokar.
You can still go Tromit.
I'll go Josh Adokar. Stay safe.
I'm going New South Wales 2-1. I think Queensland get game 2 at Suncorp. I think after we pump them into the core of the earth, they'll make some changes and make a series of it. I think Cleary, I think it's his time to own a series. I was leaning towards Haas.
Player of the series,
I was very close to Haas, but I'm like, it's Cleary's time to own a series. And I'm going Tommy Turbo, top try scorer.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's injury dependent. That's it. That's the Origin preview.
Go the Blues.
Fins up, Blues up. I don't know. What is there like a saying for New South Wales?
Cattle dog.
Cattle dog, you reckon?
Yeah.
Cattle dog.